say a prayer for us, and Mr. New resident, Mr. Ed Long, to lead us in the pledge.
Most heavenly, most gracious God, we just want to come before you just to say thank you. Thank you for all the blessing that you have bestowed upon this city. Thank you for our civil leaders, our mayor, our commissioners. And Father, we just want to say, continue to provide them with the guidance and the wisdom and knowledge that they need to govern this city and your people. Father, we ask you to come into this meeting, God, let everything be done in decent and in order. We pray for our governor. We pray for all the elected officials, both statewide as well as nationally. We ask you, God, to let them lead this nation the way you will have it to be led. This we pray in your son's name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Welcome, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. And before we go on to the consent agenda, I'd like to ask the chief to come forward and introduce one of our new patrolmen and take it over, chief.
Yes, sir. This is Alan Edwards. He started last week with us. He comes by way of Tennessee. Alan's got 20 plus years of experience. He started at a small police department, much like ours, worked his way up from officer, was chief for a few years, worked at a sheriff's office after that. It's been everything from officer to chief to SRO. He has a ton of experience. So I'd just like to welcome him to our community and the city of Port St. Joe.
Absolutely. Welcome again. Any questions for Alan?
Glad to have it.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
sir.
you, thank you.
We'll see you around town.
Yes, sir.
Okay, first item on the agenda, the consent agenda, which is quite lengthy, is regular meeting of November 15th, special meeting November 22nd, and our workshop of November 29th. So if everybody's had a chance to go over those, if there's no corrections or additions, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Mr. Ashbrook made a motion to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hoffman. All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. All right, we'll ask Mr. Josh to come forward, go over some of our projects ongoing, hopefully soon to start.
Good afternoon. Going down the list from the council notes, Long Avenue to water and sewer. The punch list work has been completed. We had one of our inspectors review that. There is one item John and I spoke about, a manhole ring at the intersection along in 71 that we're looking at now, that we're gonna ask the contractor to make a repair to. There is a little bit of thinking on that. But all the other items that were on the list, everything has been taken care of. So I think the last part of the closeout now is working with SRF on the closeout documentation. So Philip and myself, along with John and Jim, are working on that closeout documentation there. So I think we're finally bringing this project in for a landing.
Very good.
Following that up, the paving, I think got some good news yesterday on the drainage pipe. Of course, we had talked about it. The pipe is pretty much readily available, and that we assume. North Florida spoke to the precast people, and they think in about 5 weeks the inlets could be ready, which is a lot quicker than what we thought. The only issue is that the grates that go on top of the inlets are about 20 weeks out, but that does not stop the installation of the pipe itself. But I did speak with John yesterday, and he thinks that he may have some inlets that would temporarily fit those boxes. So it looks like in the next 6 weeks or so, we could be looking at the installation of that drainage pipe across First Street, where we can go ahead and close that project up as well.
You got any estimated time it'll take once you get started?
I can't remember what we put in the contract for Long Avenue. It seemed like it was a 120-day project or so. I would think 120 to 180. I can't remember what we had in that project. I think we had First Street was a 60-day project, and that was about 4/10 of a mile. We're looking at about a mile. It should be very comparable to Garrison. I can go back and see what that
Oh,
contract.
you're talking about the complete.
Oh, you're talking about the
just
pipe installation. I'm
installation
sorry.
of pipe, yeah.
Well, they did the cross drain on First Street in a day.
Okay.
So the cross drain itself could be done in a day, and then the inlet, so 2 to 3 days. But as far as the road being buttoned up,
Yeah.
put the pipe in a day and have line rock back on.
Would that allow Piggott to get back in and finish first?
As soon as the inlets are in, Piggott can come finish First Street.
Okay. All right. So month and a half, 2
Correct.
months to finish the inlet and First Street.
Well, First Street, I don't have, I'd have to talk with Jack and those guys to see exactly how long Piggott's saying, but to get them back on the job,
Yeah.
I would say 6 to 8 weeks. And that could be finished, but I don't think Piggott, at the rate they're going and the milling that they have, that's all capping that with asphalt. I couldn't see them being there very long to finish up First Street.
Okay. All right.
So Avenue C and D and Long Avenue, we're working right now. We're still waiting the contractors to finalize their performance and payment bonds. So the hope is to set up pre-construction meetings next week. But my guess is that most of that construction is probably not going to start till after the first of the year. I just can't imagine that they would come in the week of Christmas and work 2 or 3 days, and then most of them are going to take the week after Christmas off.
Yeah, understand.
So we'll be coordinating that. First Street, I think we've already covered, but I will be communicating with SCD on the timelines of this piping and stuff like that, so they can get Piggott prepped. The Beacon Hill Sewer, the bids are due for the lift station on 12/19. So we've had plenty of planning requests, so I expect a good turnout on bids there. Additionally, the 90% plans are complete for the low pressure design, and those will be emailed out today for review. Also going to send John a set for review. So once those are reviewed, we'll be ready to go in for permitting for the rest of the system. I think the only other item is the CEI task order.
And the last meeting, the board requested that we go back and work on with the engineers, see if we can value engineer it any. We have a reduced amount down based on the number of hours.
Right. The initial was 90?
95,000.
95, okay, yeah, we appreciate you very working with us on that for sure. It comes out of our pocket, not the grant, so everybody have that, task order, on page 15 and 16. And, not to exceed 75,000. If you got any questions on that, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve it. Okay, Commissioner Ashbrook made the motion. Second by Commissioner Lowry. Any discussion?
Appreciate you working with
Yeah, I'm sure
No
that.
problem. And just everybody keep in mind that this is hourly not to exceed. And we understand it's the city's money. So if more's being done or less needs to be done, we're going to regulate our hours on this and maximize that value. That's the way why it's written that way.
Okay, yeah. Question, Commissioner Knight?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was looking at, the work order and I saw that both of them, were considered, so you answered my question. You answered my question there.
Very good, very good. So, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion, anybody from the audience?
Yeah, what was the completion date, estimated completion date for C and D?
Well, we have to have the pre-construction meetings first. And I can't remember the contract time. I think C and D was 120 days. So once it starts, what we put in the contract was 120 days. It could be faster than that. In the state we're in right now, it will probably be the 120 days. But once we have the pre-construction meeting, speak with the contractor, I'll be able to come back and report to you guys and give you a more up to date of when it's going to start, how long it should take, and when it should finish.
Okay, so probably early spring. Okay, thanks.
All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passed 5-0. All right, Mr. Clint,
Yes, Mayor, one thing on the agenda today, we got a call from the health department reminding us that our e-cigarette ordinance was out of date because the state of Florida increased the age to be able to purchase cigarettes or smoke cigarettes to 21. This ordinance simply just changes, in the prior ordinance, it said 18, just changes it to 20.
Okay.
And what I'm requesting today is a motion for a first reading and request to advertise.
All right, everybody understand that, and I like that it also said that any place in the city that, does not allow smoking, also does not allow e-cigarettes, so that covers us there also, so.
Mayor, I can understand that part, but wouldn't the state statute automatically take care of this? Is just
I
double
kind
saying
of
it.
think it's a lot to do about nothing, but
Yeah, it's really
the
just saying
health
the opposite.
department wants to do it, so.
But
We already had one just like this, all the same exact ordinances, just changing
said
the
18.
age.
So anyway,
But you're right, I mean,
recommendation is for us to pass ordinance, so I'll entertain a motion.
Doesn't change anything, so moved.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Ashbrook, there's second. Second by Commissioner Lowry. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passed 5-0.
ordinance number 601, an ordinance amending Charter 42, Chapter 42 of the City of Port St. Joe Code of Ordinances, prohibiting the sale of e-cigarettes within the city to persons under 21 years of age, prohibiting the use of e-cigarettes within the city where smoking is prohibited, prohibiting self-service merchandising and the sale of e-cigarettes and liquid nicotine within the city, and for enforcement and penalties, providing for definitions, providing for severability, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, and providing for an effective date. That's all I had.
All right, Mr. Jim?
Yes, sir, Mayor. Old business, if you turn over to page 20 and 21, you'll see the projects we're currently working on. We have checked a few of those off. Haven Road has been completed on sewer. We held back on Seagrass, but Haven has been completed. Mimosa Avenue, you'll see that the sewer extension for the new house on Mimosa has been done as well. Also, the guy's been busy this week cleaning the lake at Core Park, so that is underway, so we're moving that along. Several things going on. Also, the shade at the Washington Gym, that is completed. So, big thank you to the Junior Service League. They actually funded that. So that is done, and they have started the covers for the exercise equipment. They're starting over at 16th Street, so you'll see the poles there. They want to finish that and then jump over to the one at Washington.
So if you haven't ridden by George Gore Park and see that, our new attachment on our excavator, it's just fantastic. And they're gonna move right on through. All the cattails you see in that area should be gone within the next, I guess, John, I'm gonna throw out 30 days, but I know it's Christmas. We got,
Yeah, right, we're hoping to have ball field done before.
yeah, we got a big pond down by the, boat ramp, which is gonna be a job.
Right, we'll start that Monday.
Yeah, so, and you're gonna get the little ditch.
We will, yes, we'll fall back to the ditch after we do ball field.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, all right, but that's great. A lot of compliments on that already. And John's got some, aquatic herbicide. He's gonna stop, try to stay ahead of it. And when you see a little pop up, he'll spray them and hopefully keep them back.
John, is that piece of equipment, is it working like it should?
It is.
I'm curious.
Yes, sir, it does.
I mean, it looks good.
It does, no, it works great. It actually pulls the roots and everything out.
Larry's guy, John Murnan's operating that thing, and, actually, you ordered it to keep the canal clean. So, yeah, that's a good checkout run for it, I think, don't you, Larry?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, did I say something?
Yes, sir, please.
That equipment, I wish we could try to get back there on Avenue F, that ditch back there, John. And, when we get a chance to try to clean that out a little bit. And, I need to, who property is that by the ditch? Is that,
It's the railroads. I think the railroad owns most of that going back towards the water plant.
okay, can we get in touch with them? That thing needs to be cleaned off, you know, like a letter or something, because the neighbors around there, they're complaining about it, and,
There may be lots there, I'm not sure. I told her right on Avenue F, those could be lots, Commissioner.
okay. Well,
It was into your ditch, I think.
Yeah.
We'll look at it, see.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm good, okay, all righty. Any questions on ongoing city projects? All right, let's move right along.
Yes, sir, Mayor. The next item is the PSJRA membership. At your last meeting, you did appoint, 2 new members. Mr. Davis has submitted a letter on there too, for to consider resignation on there. So you have a vacancy on there for your consideration on there.
Okay, all righty. Everybody aware, you've got your letter from, Pastor Davis on that, and then you've got your list of folks that we worked off of, at our last meeting for filling the vacancies. So, everybody had a chance to think about that. I'll entertain a motion for a replacement.
Mayor, I'd like to, make a motion to table this and discuss that at our next PSJRA meeting. I think that the membership of that board should have kind of a say. We'll make ourselves recommendations at that time and vote at the next city meeting. We've got an 8-person board now, and our next meeting's not till January.
Okay,
It seems silly. I haven't had time to think about anything yet, so.
okay, everybody,
Second the table.
okay,
that's fine, we table it, yeah, I'm fine with it.
okay. Well, and what did you want to do, discuss it at our next PSJRA
Yeah,
meeting?
we'll come up with a couple candidates at that meeting, and then the next city meeting, we'll vote on it.
Okay, all right, everybody understand that? Everybody good with just tabling that till January meeting? I mean, not January, our next, yeah, that'll be the first meeting in January. Is that what you suggesting? Everybody okay with that? Okay, all right, Jim?
Yes, sir. The next item is the, Planning Development Review Board membership. You do have a couple of members there that their term is coming up, for consideration of extension. Mr. Travis Birds, Mr. Phil Early, and Mr. Hal Keels. We have talked to all 3 and are willing to serve another term. This is the pleasure of the board. They've done a really good job. It's hard to find volunteers on that board, so staff recommendation will be to consider another term.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
So move forward, staff recommendation. Keep
Okay.
these 3 members.
Okay, there's a second to that?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hoffman. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passed 5-0. And please, notify them, Jim, I would like to notify them in writing and thank them for their service and, what they do, because it's a tough job.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
The next item we have is on the new business. Something we've talked about over the last couple of years on there is with the grants and trying to find some help as to what we do to take it to the next level as far as trying to move forward some of our grants and getting help at the state and federal level. What we have for you today, Mayor and I had actually met with a lobbying firm that does a lot of work in Tallahassee. We said, let's get us a proposal, let's come back and talk to the board, and that way we can at least start discussing it and figure out what our options.
Okay. Yeah, we talked about that and felt like Ferguson, just personally, they work with us good, but we haven't gotten a lot of bang for our buck, out of them. We spent, I got Mike to, run a list of, invoices from Ferguson. In the last 12 months, we spent, $15,000 with them. And so, we just wanted to get it out there, talk about it. We after this, most recent election, Northwest Florida is represented quite well. If we want to get appropriations from Tallahassee, we're gonna have to have a dog in that fight. And we feel like with Jason Shove and, Corey, we've got, Jay Trumbull out of Panama City that supports our city. Griffiths is a new guy there. we just got a nucleus of elected officials up there now that, we feel like will help us if we, throw something out there at them. Ferguson just working on grants. These folks work on grants and, legislative appropriations. And,
Point of clarification, Mayor, this is a lot of money.
Yes,
So
exactly
we
right.
would drop Ferguson and they would take over that role? And is that for federal and state grants that they would also handle? Do they go to DC?
I don't know. Well, no, they do not go to, this is strictly gonna be.
For lobbying.
Well, and that's my
Lobbying
concern.
and state.
When the big grants come out, once we get the vulnerability assessment, we're gonna have access to a lot of federal dollars through DEP and direct grants and things like that. I just
Right.
wanna make sure that we don't drop the group that's gonna be doing that for us, because you're talking about millions of dollars out there. But I've been advocating for this forever. I'm the only person that goes up there and beats on those doors and says, let me in.
Yeah, this firm, as you guys have read, been there a good long time. They're top rated, but we just gotta, decide if we wanna give it a try this year before the session starts in March.
What are we asking for this year, Mayor? Have we had that discussion?
With
If we're only asking for $100,000 splash pad, we don't need to pay all that money to sell them. But if
No,
we're
we've
looking at
asked for,
something big-
over $1 million. How much did we ask for? A couple of million.
I think we asked for a couple of things
We
like.
did $1 million for Field of Dreams. We did splash pad. We did, Jim got a list, I'm sorry.
I
we
think the
didn't-
last things we did was the stage and the. field.
And also fire police, didn't we? Didn't we ask them for that too?
We did before at the federal level and at the state level, and those got turned down. The only legislative request that I think we have out there now is for the stage, and for the, Field of Dreams. I think we asked for $2 million, I think, was it, Mr. Ross?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the only two we have out there at the state level.
So,
Well, we don't really stand a chance of getting that kind of money from the state. We've yet to receive a $100,000 check for anything we've ever asked for.
That's
So,
why.
Maybe because we've never had a lobby.
That's it. And look at what the county gets, you know?
Well, I know, Ferguson Group, we've been working with them, but me personally, I'm not satisfied with them because, I mean, we should be moving forward with a lot of these things that has not, moved forward yet. So, why would we stay, with a group of people that, I think that's not doing, our due diligence?
Yeah.
You know?
And frankly, we do a lot of work for them, when Miss Charlotte works with them on grants, and then we submit it to them, and they send us a task order, and we pay them whatever they ask us to pay them. So, Mike, looking at this again, these are mostly $1,000. Haven't we had some task orders for grants?
We have, but we've not completed any of those task orders. They've not invoiced us for those task orders. I'm not sure what those totals.
But we approved them.
Yes,
Sir. There was a couple out there. The one that we did not get funded on was the fire and police. It was roughly around $10,000. I think we applied twice for that one with the CDBGs, and we didn't. get
So we wrote them a check for that,
We
for
had to pay
trying.
for that one, yes.
So this is not totally accurate, 15,000. We probably spent more than 25 or 30,000, I
That's in the
guess.
past, snapshot of the past year.
Yeah,
And the other ones that we worked on is we have one sitting out there outstanding for the city hall that we stopped going to USDA because we're trying to figure out the property.
right,
And
right.
then the other one that we had that they did do was the roughly almost $10 million to CDBG DR that we got funded, but they're being paid through the grant. So
Right.
that one, we got the grant, we're being funded. USDA, we're still in the works. But what we got to figure out too is, I don't believe this group is actually going to do all the grant writing and everything. They're going to be lobbyists.
That's right,
So we're going to figure out how we,
Separate.
to mirror the ones together.
right, right.
Did I just hear you correct that Ferguson got us a $10 million grant?
$9.6 million.
We've never seen money like that
That
before,
was the
Mayor.
biggest
No,
one I tried.
We never have,
So,
How long they been with us?
a year.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take $10 million a year.
Yeah, if they can get it like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're working hard enough. That's just my opinion. I mean, $10 million, yeah, that's good.
Well, part of it too is communicating with them. and tell them what we're looking for. Like, we don't give them anything that we want. They're not looking for us.
Commissioner Hoffman, yeah.
The way I look at this proposal that we have in front of us today is to hire a lobbying team. Now, in my mind, I fully support hiring a lobbying team and give them 1 year to prove success. But I don't attach it to Ferguson Group. That's a whole different thing. If we want to keep or fire Ferguson, we'll have that talk in another day. But I think we're missing the opportunity for funding because we don't have a voice lobbying during the session. It's going to be an interesting session this year based on the damage from the hurricane in South and Central Florida. So it's going to take work to get money this year, I think. So I'm in support of hiring a firm. I did send the name of this company out to a friend of mine that is a lobbyist, but works for a different firm and does a different type of lobbying. He doesn't do, cities and counties, but he's going to give me a little feedback on what he thinks about this particular group. I looked at some of the names in the group that cover Tallahassee, and they got some heavy hitters. So, but I think we need to look at hiring a group and working in Tallahassee to have a voice to fund these types of things. And I think it should be noted that Representative Shove also supports the idea of us having that voice. And that to hear that from your own representative means a lot to me. So.
All right, this guy threw out some stats that were very, very interesting to me, that 80-something% of the request at the beginning of the session never make it to the final 4 days. And the final 4 days, 80% are funded. Of the ones left, 80% of those are funded in the final 4 days. Isn't that what he said, Jim? So and it's kind of interesting to hear the inside information, I guess you would say, about that. So what's the pleasure of the board?
I think, well, just one tidbit I wanted to give a little input on. One thing, when you hire these lobbyists, you've got, and I've had this discussion with the city manager, is we got to keep a thumb on them, and kind of like what was mentioned is, the items that we want, in the future, we've got to keep our hand on them. And, if we're going to pay them $6,000 a month.
Right. So what you're saying is,
We need to be in constant contact with
and
them.
tell them we're trying to get this money for this XYZ project, and how are you coming on it, or that?
Yeah,
that kind of
and having, calls with them and such.
Yeah.
Just, because I've seen lobbyists just take them and have.
Well, we need to keep in
Probably
contact with Schoaf and with Terry Simon and ask them, hey, how are they doing? Because they're on our side already. They'll tell us honestly if they're doing us an injustice or not.
So just a little bit of input.
Yeah, absolutely.
But my other question was, are we gonna have to RFQ this? And,
That's the thing we have to look at.
What?
go ahead, go out for proposals.
I don't know off the top of my head. I didn't know we were even talking about this. I would have had to answer for you.
Right. Well, it sounds like consensus is that we need it. Yeah, that's what, and we need to keep Ferguson to work for our federal grants. So, do you want to, does the board want to, defer to council and see if we need to go out for an RFQ, or not?
I'm comfortable making a motion, Mayor, that if it's legal to do without an RFQ, that we go ahead and accept this proposal.
Okay.
And if he finds out it isn't, then we go back to the drawing board.
Or just submit a request for proposal.
Yeah.
Right, okay. There's a motion on the floor to approve the Southern Group as presented as long as we do not have to go out for an RFQ. Okay, is there a second? Anybody want a second?
Second for discussion.
Okay. There's a second for discussion.
Give me some insight as to how this group came to us. I'm not saying they're good, bad, or anything, I'm just curious.
Representative, Jim and I had a talk with Representative Schoaf, I don't remember when, and about how money was coming into Fort St. Joe and into Gulf County, and how we were kind of, seemed to be getting on the short end of the stick, how the county gets so much money. And he said, well, they got a lobbying group. I said, they do? I said, I never knew that was in their budget, but he said, yeah, they got a lobbying group up there. He said, you need a lobbying group. I said, okay, who do you suggest? He suggested this group.
Okay, and that's what I thought, I wanted to clarify that. My
Absolutely.
second stands.
Yes, sir.
Question, what do we want to take out of the budget to pay for it this year?
Yeah, you mentioned that, and I'm gonna be a no vote, just to FYI, because I'm not comfortable with that. With the budget.
I would honestly say that the perfect fund for this is the fund that we originally discussed after the CRA shut down, and that was that we would use that money to leverage grants. There's no better way to leverage money than to put it in an advocacy group. That's what would be my suggestion, is touch that $1.4 million pot this year until we can build it into the budget the following year.
The only problem is that money's already being allocated into the road paving for Avenue C and D and.
For this year?
For this fiscal year?
Yeah, the $400,000, we dumped it into the general fund to cover those general fund items.
So there's nothing left in that pot.
We'd have to scratch something, yeah.
It's on the county.
We'll have to,
You'd have to come out of contingency dollars.
we'll have to.
You'd have to come out of other contingency
We
dollars.
still got BP money.
Right. Some other category that we have reserved. some
Yeah,
unreserved account.
and what's the total on the contingency right now?
Well, the
several
contingency
million.
is $9 million in total in contingency dollars.
Yeah.
You know, but certainly you have, you have 375 in the BP fund. The 9.4 million in contingency dollars. So you have the money in reserves for 72, you can pull it out of those accounts.
Yeah, I think that, because we've got a lot of money out there right now, is that because of our outstanding, our grants that we have open and such.
I mean, we've got the money in a lot of areas that are non-budgeted items, money just sitting there. And, I'm kind of like Mr. Hoffman, that we give them a year. Go ahead and give them a year, see if they'll produce.
Yeah, if you spend 72,000 and they bring us $3.5 million worth of projects, funding for projects, then we do it again the next year and the next year and the next year. If we spend 72,000 and we have nothing, like we've had the last couple sessions, then, we're out $72,000, but we gave it an effort. I can tell you, the people that are getting the funding have lobbyists.
Yep.
I work for the biggest police union in the state of Florida and represent one that's the biggest in the country. And we are successful because of lobbying and PAC funds. We can't write checks as a city for PAC funds, but that's the other area that seems to be quite successful in the state of Florida.
Okay. All right, any more discussion? All in favor of Southern Company, the Southern Group, as our lobbying for the next 12 months, from the date that I assume we signed this to for 12 months. There's a motion and a second. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? No. Okay, motion passed 4-1. All righty.
Yes, sir, Mayor. The next item we have is our calendar coming up for this month. We have a regular meeting on the 20th. Several years past, we have canceled that due to members traveling. It's up for discussion today. And also we want to, our Remind you of our employee appreciation luncheon at noon on the 22nd.
And I'm out of town that whole week.
So what's staff recommendation that we skip the 20th?
It's totally up to the board. It's your meeting, Mayor. We don't have too much going on towards the end of this month. We do need to have our meeting the 1st in January. Looking forward at the calendar, we do have quite a bit going on that we need for business purposes in January.
When's staff's last day?
The 22nd.
22nd.
Now, first meeting in January is the 3rd.
Yes, sir.
The city's off on Monday the 2nd.
Correct. So we'll come back on that Tuesday, and we do have a meeting on that Tuesday. Yes, sir.
And what about, is the city off on Friday the 30th?
It will be on no, sir, we'll have one day off for
So
New Year's Eve. We'll be off on Monday.
Monday the 26th, you'll be off, and then the 27th, you'll be off of December. And so that gives you Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, prepare the agenda for the January 3rd.
Correct.
Okay? All right, we'll have to have, if it's the pleasure of the board to cancel the 20th and come back first meeting in January, which will be January 3rd. Need a motion?
So,
Okay, Mr. Ashbrook made a motion to cancel the December 20th meeting, and that will be it for the rest of this year. Unless we have to have a meeting for some, hopefully, emergency reason.
I'll second if staff good with that.
Okay, all right, second by Commissioner Lowry. Any further discussion on the board? Anybody in the audience? All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign, motion passed 5-0. Keep in mind that our employee appreciation luncheon is that Thursday, the 22nd, and looking forward to that. So, that all new
That's all
business?
I have, Mayor.
Okay, all right, Mr. Grant.
Mayor, I think we covered most of, what we talked about in the project update, unless there's questions from the board.
No, I thought it was interesting, John showed me some pictures of, the repair of the sewer line in front of the port inn. Have you seen the pictures?
unfortunately,
It's unbelievable. I've got them on the phone, I'll show them to y'all, but as it turned out, that pipe was completely gone.
like a 3-foot section.
Wow. There was nothing there, it was just dumping everything right in the middle of Highway 98.
Natural septic system going.
Yeah.
Right by the bay.
John, this crew repaired it in a little square like that, and it's great. So I appreciate the work on that.
Our grass has been looking really good now.
I'm not surprised.
John, what we at with, weeding?
I've been promised 5 times for a quote and haven't gotten it yet.
Okay.
Hold on, please.
Yeah.
Who is it? Molly? Okay.
Chris, you usually on the ball. I don't know. You must have more work than he needs.
Okay.
Everybody good with Public Works? Any more questions for John? All right, John, thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just let the board know the water system has passed the 4th quarter of sample for dispatch products. Our yearly average was really good, and we had no violations to report this year.
Fantastic. That's great.
And Mayor, just so you know, we are now fully staffed. We hired a trainee for the first time in a while.
Yeah,
And Cameron Alcorn now is our new trainee. So,
fantastic. Yeah, you've been shorthanded a while. Very good.
that's all I have.
All right. And anybody got any updates on Kevin's plant?
Yes, sir. Kevin is out today, Mayor, but they do have a little over 3 feet of room, so something we've not had in a long time at the Lagoon. So they have been discharging. They plan to shut down about the 18th or 19th of this month for repairs, maintenance during the holidays, but things are moving on.
Okay, anything else? Anybody got questions about that? right, Mr. Mike, what's going on?
Mayor, I don't have any estimate on when FEMA's gonna give us an answer, but we did have more correspondence with them last week regarding some of the costs and mitigation and part of the project. So they are working on it. They're asking us questions, we're corresponding. That's all I can say. It is still in the works. Step 6 of 8, FEMA review. Other than that, we put out the November financial statements today.
Okay. All right, anyone else? Questions for Mike? All right, code enforcement.
Yes, sir, Mayor. We had a workshop, I guess it was a little over a week ago in reference to the downtown. So code enforcement has been working through the downtown area, trying to work with the merchants on trash, cleaning up, those type of things. Also, we did have a conversation with the PACES Foundation as far as the dumpster and trying to get those things repaired, closed up at night, so we don't have the problem with the bears and getting into the trash. So, you know, we've let them know that, hey, we're trying to work with you, but if we don't see some improvements, we'll have to go through the code enforcement process.
And while you're on that, answer Commissioner Langston's question about Avenue F. I believe that code enforcement was gonna write the railroad or St. Joe Company up for some overgrowth there or something. Is that, didn't we talk about that?
I'll go back and look at it.
Yeah, I want to say that there was a request to us about that, and so I don't know if it was Richie or Fennell one that looked at that and thought it might be, you know, St. Joe property.
The chief just looked that up too, Mayor, it wasn't railroad property.
Then I said, well, if it's their property, it needs cleaning up, write them up.
That's right.
Write them up.
Needs to
So,
be done.
yeah, so we need to follow that up and see if he did. Because that was 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, anything else on code enforcement? All right, chief?
I don't have anything besides we're fully staffed now also. I think it's been since, July that we've had an opening, so we're fully staffed now. And Officer Edwards should be done with training in about 4 weeks. He's already got his first 2 in, so in 4 weeks, he should be on the road.
Okay. Good deal.
Hopefully nothing changes, so we'll be fully staffed for a while, I think.
That's great, great. Got to ask John if he was fully staffed. Nope.
Not even close, Mayor.
Not even close. I was afraid of that. It'd be nice if we get 100% one day.
Just seems like people don't wanna work.
Can't figure it out, but anyway. And how many applications do we have for our new budgeted position that, like I'll just say deputy clerk?
Very few, Mayor. So yes, we're continuing on. We're still looking for deputy clerk and utility billing clerk. So yes,
Okay. All right.
please put in applications. John has what, 6 positions, I think?
6. Yeah, that's just a lie.
Okay.
All righty. Any questions for the chief? All right, Ms. Pierce.
We continue to work on grant opportunities with the Ferguson company, correspond with them, talk with them. Christmas parade is this Saturday, 6 o'clock. Appreciate those of you who are gonna be able to participate, and those who can't, we're gonna miss you and hope to have you back next year. But we have over 100 entries,
Wow.
individual entries. Of course, that's changing. I'm verifying today. Some are adding, 1 or 2 are dropping out, so don't know what my net's gonna be, but we will before long.
Probably around 100.
Close.
Can I, when you're done,
I'm done.
can I bring up, what we talked about the Christmas parade?
Sure.
For all the commissioners to
future.
think about? We're getting to the point where we're kind of outgrowing the way we've been doing the Christmas parade. It's really starting to cause a problem, especially in downtown. I spoke to the mayor and I spoke to, Jim about this a couple weeks ago, about moving the Christmas parade off of Reed Avenue and Highway 71 and putting it on 98. Much more room, so much easier on us and the community. Basically right now, on Saturday at about 5 o'clock, we'll shut down downtown Port St. Joe. You can't come in or out. And there's no parking. We move all the cars off Reed Avenue, and that's mostly where our parking is. Egress and digress from Williams Avenue, where the other parking is, will be shut down. And the lineup will go all the way up from Reed Avenue, up 71. There'll be one branch down Williams Avenue all the way to First Street of lineup. We'll go on to Garrison or First, whichever you want to call it, down to the gas pumps and down 4th Street, back to Woodward Avenue, and usually all the way down the lawn with the lineup. So we're taking up all of downtown, all the parking with just parade. And my thought was to do the lineup down from the Methodist Church, down Monument Avenue, as far as we need to go. And there's plenty of ways around that. It should not affect the people who live on Monument Avenue. And we can have the parade from the Methodist Church to First Street, route them up First Street. The traffic will be shut off on 98 for about an hour, but WeWall does that. Mariana had theirs last weekend. They have theirs on 90. They shut down 90 for almost 2 hours. It's nothing but a request to DOT to do detours of traffic. We could detour up Avenue A to 71 down Garrison, or we could just stop traffic for that short amount of time. And people can park where they want to park, come out to 98 and line up down 98. We have that whole wide area for the big trucks. Some people backed out of the parade this year because they said they couldn't really turn on to Reed Avenue. Reed Avenue was too small. We've got volunteers coming out that weekend to help us try to keep the crowd back from getting in the roadway because people are scared they're going to run people over. I think we've kind of outgrown the little St. Joe Christmas parade. It ain't little anymore. So I wanted to give that food for thought and see what you guys think about it. And next year we can plan on doing it a different way, because I think it'll be the best for everybody.
I like it. I like the idea.
I don't disagree with it.
Well, I remember when I was growing up, I think they would start and they would come down Reed, but they would, I think.
Seemed like they went to 98 to Avenue A to MLK.
Yeah.
But we talked about that today, is including MLK on that. But when you end down at F, you'd have to either route them back out Hodrick, back to D out.
Well, they didn't go down to F, it went to 110 down to Avenue D.
D
out to 98.
Yeah.
Well,
That would just put us extending the closure back to the valley in between
a
the
lot of good
bridges.
options there
Yeah.
that we all need to think about. I know that we have problems right now at the light at First Street 98. Traffic gets backed up all the way to the overpass, so if we shut 98 down, they'll be backed up in Mexico Beach. So I, being devil's advocate, there's a lot of
Exactly right.
thoughts in my mind. What about 71 and have the parade go down Williams, and you can keep 98 and Reed open, go to Langston Drive, go down MLK, and then go back to Garrison.
Big square.
For this year?
Ma'am?
For this year?
No.
We're talking
We're
next
just-
year. We're not talking about
No,
changing.
this
Let's
year's
look at
done.
it.
This year's done.
Yeah,
Yes.
we
Let's
looked
look
at
at
seven,
it.
we looked at including the, Miss Zola Drive and all that in it. That's a lot of turning and maneuvering
Yeah,
for
yeah.
floats and stuff. We've looked at several different options, and I was looking for a straight shot, get it done,
Yeah.
and be able to get the people out of there and have parking, cause that's the biggest thing is once we shut down downtown, cause you don't want a situation like the Wisconsin guy who ran through a parade and killed a bunch of people. And, just trying to get what
Everybody
we
keep
can.
that in mind. Let's work with the
Yeah.
chief and see if we can find something.
Everybody come up with an
that's,
idea. I'm open to
Yeah.
anything. We've been going over it with Miss Charlotte, Jim, trying to think of a better way to do it.
Centennial Building to Methodist Church is a nice long path. There's lots of grass out there.
But where do you park people?
Isn't that always the problem?
Yes,
That's right.
it is. I'm afraid it
All right.
is.
We
Thank
are
you. Thank you.
asking that no one throw candy from anything. This year, you may walk beside your float, vehicle, whatever, and hand it. But we did have several people say they were fearful of driving in the parade because of the way children will run out to get candy. So we're asking and encouraging strongly,
And that-
no candy be thrown.
And we're trying to have as many volunteers along the parking spaces as we can. They'll be wearing traffic vests, trying to keep people back in the parking spaces and not out in the road. Because as y'all know, it's a mess once the parade's over with broke candy everywhere. And those kids, they'll run out, in between cars to pick up a Snickers bar in the middle of the road.
Yes.
And that's what we're trying to prevent. Yeah, I'd run out and get a Snickers bar.
Man, Friday morning, we have our Friday morning.
Okay, let's see, Miss Charlotte, anything else?
I don't have anything less, so we have
Okay,
questions.
anybody got questions? Okay,
Thank you.
citizens be heard, anyone like to come before the board today?
I got a question.
Okay, come right up, please.
My question is just based upon the preparation for the gym, Washington High Gym. I have some people out of Tallahassee that's professional groups that wants to come and do some entertainment. And I wasn't sure whether I can invite them or not, especially to the gym, and whether the sound system is adequate. And right now, we don't need no air conditioning for the winter, but, something that we need to look forward for the future. There's a primitive Baptist group that has about 4 different choir sections. And we've been talking about bringing them down to Port St. Joe to do a concert. The last time we did that concert, we had the church development to help us out. And it came out pretty successful. And so we want to do it again, but the gym is adequate for it. The stage and the sound system is what I'm questioning. And, I didn't want to make an impression to bring them here and there. And it's not ready. Is there any
I don't know anything about sound system, somebody help me.
The air conditioning's been repaired, so that has been fixed, so the AC works fine. But you do not, that sound system, though, so I don't know, but I think all there is was a small portable sound system there, so there's not they would need to bring their own sound system.
They gotta bring on sound system.
I know the one in the Centennial Building is just as bad.
Yeah.
You can't hear a thing in that building with the sound system.
The Washington Gym's better acoustically than the Centennial Building.
Well, the group is coming, we were talking about somewhere around 120 singers coming in at one time. And this is youth, women choir, men's choir, and then the entire choir whole. So we're talking about.
There are, I know there's one person that works this area that has a sound system named Rick Ott. He's got stage lights and he does it all, but of course you already have a stage. They can talk to him about what you need, when you need it, how much you need.
Well, the only problem I would think, they have a pretty good sound system, except for plugging it in. That would be my only question.
Oh, that
Shouldn't be a problem.
I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, we would have to know the requirements, and then we can have our electricians look at it. I wanted to do that simply because this is the season that they're growing, and like I said, the group is tremendous. I've watched them entertain for the last 20 years, and they've just grown. So they have a youth group that has 60 youth in it. They have a main choir that has about 100 in it. They have a male chorus that has about 35 men in it, and then they have.
Be impressive. And they've got their own sound system. We
Yes.
just need to know if it'll,
Right.
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 we can handle it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Come on up, Reverend Gallis.
Got twofold, but to that sound system, I was in conversation with Commissioner Quinn. And he already told me that he already got money for the system out there. He's just waiting to upgrade the speakers. We talked about even putting a mixer control board in and
Okay.
everything else. So that is on the work. So he's talking about that. He said he already got it in his budget. They just got to get it done. But, two things. I came in late. I heard you guys talking about this lobbyist group. And what's their name?
The Southern Group,
Southern Group.
that's what their name is, yeah.
Where are they out of?
Tallahassee, well, they're out all over the state, but their main office is in, Tallahassee. I've got,
It's Jacksonville, Tampa, Miami,
Yeah,
Orlando. They've got
yeah.
one in every big city.
yeah, I've got all the info right here. If you'd like it, I'd be happy to let you look at it.
And, okay, that's because I came in late when you was talking about that.
Right.
The other thing that I want to ask, the Field of Dream, that project still on course, or what are you guys doing? I heard some money was put into that thing. What's going on with that?
Well,
We don't get a chance to hear nothing going on about the Field of Dream, but then I hear about all this stuff that
yeah.
money been put in it, but.
Yeah, we put some aside and hope that the county would match it, help us out to get started. The county wasn't really interested in helping us, and, so we got appropriation to the state for this year's legislative session. And hopefully they will give us some funding, just to get us started. I firmly believe $2 million, we can get started on this thing and get something positive going.
Well, do we have some kind of drawing or some kind of thing, what we plan on doing out there? Because like I said,
We had one from 10 years ago, Charles, and I'm not sure we're gonna work off that one or not.
do you have a committee or somebody that's helping on the group? Or
We
they
had
said y'all
one.
doing in-house?
We had one at one time, but everything right now is just,
In-house?
everything's so much going on. We haven't reached out, tried to form any kind of committee or so forth. We've got FERDAP committee, which is, you're familiar with the FERDAP committee, it's all state appropriations for recreation. And they meet, and so I would assume that we could say that they were part of that.
Okay. What should the FERDAP committee group give a report to the commissioner or the citizens so we'll be aware of what's going on in the city?
Honestly, I think you could attend those meetings, and if you wanted to be a member of FERDAP, I think that could be worked out.
Well, I think I asked about 2 years ago about being on that committee and hadn't happened yet. So, so that's why I'm asking about, because I spent 26 years in recreation
I
in the
know,
city.
and you've got the experience and knowledge.
It's a good thing. I hear John saying that, hey, he can't keep a department, but sad, when I was on 2010, they did away with the department. So, so you guys, you have your plus years where you can't have enough, and then you have too much in some years. So I guess it all comes in.
I'll be happy to get with Jim and Mike after the meeting, and we'll talk about that and let them reach out to you and see if we can utilize your expertise.
I'll be glad to help if I can, because like I said, recreation is very key to me. I look at our community and where we had the gym and how we used to run that gym 5 days a week. The kids had something to do. Now they don't, and we see a lot of things happen because they don't have a place to go to be there. So I think we need to be looking at what can we do for our children that might help them, deter them from doing some of the other things.
I agree with you. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Anybody else? All righty, who will start with? I forgot last time. We'll just start with Mr. Langston down there.
I think I brought up, a walkway from Avenue A by New Horizon, across 98. Have we looked into that?
Yeah, a crosswalk, state crosswalk. Okay.
Need to follow back up on that, yes.
Okay.
That would actually be.
John's, I see him making notes right now.
I'll check back.
What we talked about that. Oh, and, I think I talked with Jim. No, I talked with, Mike about, no, I talked to John about, the incentives for certified employees with certain licenses. Have we implemented that yet?
No, so we have not. That was one of the things we talked about during the budget. We've been talking about during the staff level. What we need to do is define which ones we qualify on before we did. Currently, the only ones we have right now were at the water and sewer plant. I know we had quite a bit of discussion during the budget process, but we just need to decide and have the board approve whatever positions we feel that we need.
How long is that gonna take? Because we have some guys that, well, I got a couple of phone calls that have certifications and, they're not getting paid for it. And I thought we voted to give employees incentives for certain certification. I know we haven't picked the one that we could give them incentives for, but I think we need to try to go ahead and move along with that because, if we can't pay them extra for their, certification, I don't think we'll be able to keep them, you know? And keeping employees is key to, the foundation of your, organization. So, if we can get it, look into that, Jim, as soon as possible, I appreciate it.
Yeah, if everybody give us a list of which ones they think qualify, we'll also give the department heads a list, so we can get it approved.
Thank you. That's all right.
All right.
Mayor, just to add to that, I was just gonna request that can we, by our next meeting, since it's a month away from now, have the department head submit us a list of the licenses that they think would be valuable to have in their department. And we can all review that once that's approved. If they want to add another license, they just got to come back to the board for approval or let the department heads make that decision. But I'd like to see a list of what we're talking about.
By the next meeting?
I would say a month from now, if we just get a list.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mayor.
All right. Mr. Lowry?
I'm good.
All right, Mr. Hoffman?
The only thing I had is a follow-up from, the other two commissioners that just brought it up. I met today, as a matter of fact, this morning with Mike to talk about this very thing, certifications. I spoke to a couple city employees in the last couple of days, and they had the same question. And I told them as soon as we get through the holidays, my plan personally is start January, first week of January, we should have a list. That's my understanding that the water department and the sewer department are currently working under a list of certifications and license, and we're paying those employees. I want to focus on John Grantland's group and the police department. And I did get a list from John a while back. He did supply me with what he thought was a list or, valuable license. And then the police department could go, they could make a very lengthy list, I assure you. But what I think we need to do to follow up between now and our next meeting in a month is let's shorten the list to not only here's an example of what the city needs, but give me an idea of how many employees would be eligible for that. Let's say CDL license. Everyone doesn't need to be, certified Class A CDL, but you do need a certain amount of CDL people, not count supervisors. I'm talking about basic employee, new hires, and the ones that have not promoted in any time. I think a supervisor should have those certifications. All of them would be my opinion. But the ones that I want to focus on paying that extra dollar or maybe 50 cents for some, it should be jobs that the city benefits by having that employee get that certification or license. And like with the police department, when I was talking to Mike this morning about it, the chief doesn't need all the officers to be certified field training officers, but you got to have a certain amount of them. So have them submit a list, not only the list, but how many can get that certification. You may have someone in John's department that doesn't want to fool with the CDL, but might get the pesticide license that we talked about, because I know that some of them's already passed that test. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because I was going to speak on it too. So good. I'm glad we got a plan. That's all I have.
Easement, for accessing our affordable workforce housing project. Jim's worked with Duke, religiously and continuously, and they're not gonna work with us. So, he's reaching out to St. Joe Company. I think they indicated they would possibly give us an easement. Once we get that easement, the company that working for that project, they're ready to go ahead, full speed ahead. They're anxious, and that's the only thing they're waiting on, from my understanding, with Jim. And so we're working through that little obstacle, because they, like I say, the money's out there right now for housing, and they're excited and anxious. And so we're gonna try to get this easement done and go from there. On our lobbyists, if you have an idea of a project that you think is important to the city, get up with Jim and let's compile a list, and we'll tell those folks, this is what we want you to work on. Look, we need money for X, Y, Z. I'm not afraid to ask them again for police and fire station, city hall. Actually, I think this guy was a little bit surprised that we couldn't get funding for him. And think of some good heavyweight projects that will benefit the city, and get them to Jim, and let's go over and prioritize them, so he'll know what we feel like a priority item, and they go from there.
Mayor, can I have one thing?
Please,
real quick?
yeah.
Can we try to organize with the Southern group to set up a St. Joe Day up there, where we can invite citizens and all the commissioners up there to advocate for what we're asking for?
I don't see
Last
why
time
not.
I was up there, there were about 6 people from the county advocating, and I was there all by myself. So I'd love to get us involved in the process up there.
Yeah, you got-
Just once a year, going up and say, this is what we want this year, and here's why.
We've got to do that. There's no doubt. If we're gonna get some money, so yeah, we'll reach out to, Clark Smith was the guy, that met with us here, and, he's familiar with the area, and, I think he'll be real good. Got our new citizen, Mr. Ed Long, out there. He attended our workshop on Reed Avenue and the Merchants, and, he submitted some good suggestions today, and I'm gonna pass these on to Jim. Jim's already working on quite a few things, and so is John. We'll add this to it, and some good suggestions here that we appreciate the input very much. Anything else? If not, we'll stand adjourned.
Yeah, I go.